Yes, good morning, dear students. Now we are continuing with the same chapter, chapter 7. Now, up to now, we have discussed that how the Indian weavers they lost their means of livelihood because at that time, when the total scenario was changed due to the industrialization introduced in Britain, so here in India the British goods flooded Indian market and it was very difficult to compete with the Britain goods. So Indian weavers, those who were making the clothes with their own hands, they were unable to compete with that. So by and by they all lost their means of livelihood. And the whole things they were changed in India. So later on, it was a time of 1854 near about when the India there was industrialization in India also, and the Indian leaders they also just convince the people, try to pacify the people that they have to purchase the things from India only, means Indian goods they have to purchase. Mahatma Gandhi also requests the people to boycott the imported textiles and use hand woven and hand spun clothes. So it will give it will give a chance to the Indian weavers to again stand in the world of competition, you can say. Here Khadi gradually became a symbol of nationalism also, and charkha came to represent India. Yes, my dear students, in our early time, the charkha was nowadays also we are having the Ashoka Chakra in that. Up before that, the charkha caught the space in tricolor flag of Indian National Congress also, and it was adopted in 1931. So the Indians weavers and the spinners sorry, who lost their livelihood, they become the agriculture laborers, and some they just migrated to other cities also, and some they were migrated to other countries also for the work. And later on, in 1854, the first cotton mill in India was set up in Bombay. So one more question can be there: when would be the first cotton mill was set up? So all the coastal areas they have been developed because the early development was there. The reason being, as I've told you so many times, at that time only ships were the sources to travel from one country to another. So it will be easier to develop in that areas. It was close to the vast black soil tract where the cotton can be produced easily. The climatic conditions they are also suitable for the growing of cotton also, and for the import and export it will be used as the uh, areas where the ships they can easily stand and load and reload the goods. So that's why the maximum cotton mill they have set up there. Not even then, even now also, the many of the industries they have settled near the area, means in Maharashtra or in Gujarat, because all these areas are full of black soil and the suitable climatic condition which are required for the cotton cultivation. That and that's why the you can say that maximum cotton mills are set up there. By 1900, over 84 mills started operating in Bombay, and many of these were established by the Parsi and the Gujarati businessmen who had made their money through trade with China. The first mill in Ahmedabad was started in 1861. In Bombay, it was 1854, and in Ahmedabad it was 1861. Again, one more question can be there. So, in the first few decades, the textile factory industry in India faced many problems because they have to compete with the cheap textiles imported from Britain. And in most countries, government supported industrialization by imposing heavy duties on imports. And also, this eliminated competition and protected the smaller industries. Here, the infant industries mean the smaller industries. But such kind of protection was not provided to the Indian industries. Reason being, here the Britishers they ruled over us, so no heavy taxes were imposed on the import. Even the reverse condition was there, that the heavy taxes were imposed on the exports. So that's why it was not easy to be in that world where the no protection was given to the Indian industries by the side of the government. So here the question arises, how the cotton textile mills and the iron industries they got the importance or they developed in that era. So the thing is, because of the First World War. Yes, my dear students, this was an important event when the industries they have been developed in India. Reason being, due to the First World War, all the imports and exports, uh, all the imports and exports they stopped due to the First World War. So the Britishers they were also moved, or you can say turned upon the Indian textile on the Indian industrialization to fulfill the things. And at that time, uh, we got we developed our industrialization at that time. Okay, and many of the textile and the iron industries they were called upon to produce clothes for military supplies, and the iron industries they were called upon to produce the, you can say, the train compartments and the other things for the military, you can say. The sword of Tipu Sultan and wood steel. We begin the story of Indian steel and iron metallurgy by recounting the famous story of Tipu Sultan who ruled Mysore till 1790. Fought 4 wars with the British and died fighting with sword in his hand. So first of all, first 1 mark question. How many fights did Tipu Sultan fought with Britishers? 4 wars. Tipu's legendary swords are now part of valuable collection in museums in England. But do you know why the sword was so special? The sword had an incredibly hard and sharp edge that could easily rip through the opponent's armor. This quality of the sword came from a special type of high carbon steel called woods. Again, one mark question can be there. The Tipu Sultan sword was built of which kind of steel? Yeah, which kind of steel was used in Tipu Sultan's swords? That is woods. And it was produced over South India. Wood steel, when made into swords, produced a very sharp edge with a flowing water pattern. This pattern came from very small carbon crystals embedded in the iron. Francis Buchanan, who taught through Mysore in 1800, a year after Tipu Sultan's death, has left us an account of the technique by which wood steel was produced in many hundreds of smelting furnaces in Mysore. First of all, the smelting mean. Beta ji, the process of obtaining a metal from rock or soil by heating it to a very high temperature or a melting objects made from metal in order to use the metal to make something new. In easy words, I want to say when we are smelting, we are heating iron ore, we are heating the iron ore and produced something new with that iron, that is called smelting. At that time, the mostly people, those who were doing the work of the smelting or iron or something else, they were used to do all the work with their own hands only. And in this how the furnaces were used. In these furnaces, iron was mixed with charcoal and put inside some clay pots, and through an intricate control of temperature, the smelters produced iron in ingots that were used for sword making, not just in India but in West and Central Asia too. Okay, now dear students, when the Britishers, when they left the places, they also taken away the sword of Tipu Sultan. Look how much good it was. So, if you look at the picture is also mentioned here. Uh, some quotations they are written here. Messages about victories in wars, and the tiger head towards the bottom of the handle. So look at the sword which was used by the Tipu Sultan at that time. So woods in an anglicized version of the Kannada word ukku, Telugu hukku, and Tamil and Malayalam urukku, meaning steel. Indian wood steel fascinated European scientists also. That was the Michael Faraday. The legendary scientist had discovered of electricity and electromagnetism. Spent 4 years studying the properties of Indian woods. The wood steel making process, which was so widely known in South India, was completely lost by the mid 19th century. Can you guess why this was so? The sword and armor making industry died with the conquest of India by the British, and imports of iron and steel from England displaced the iron and steel produced by craftsperson in India. Yes, my dear students, as I have told you, the weavers and the weavers, they lost their livelihood. The all of their work ruined because the Britishers, they started uh, importing the cloth from Britain. So similarly, when they started making or they started fulfilling their requirement from the Britain of iron and steel, so it will also ruin the work in India also. All the craft person, again the condition was the same. All the smelters, they move from here and there for extra work. They started work as a laborer because the things they are the same, that they were have no work to do, because at that time when the Indian rulers were no more in the ruling era, so the all the powers were in the hands of the Britishers, and they also tried to fulfill their needs of maybe of the army, maybe of the train compartments. So they have to they have just not getting further orders from them, so they have just lost their livelihood. So the conditions, they were the same, means the British government, or they have ruined our economy. They have smashed our your work of farmers, weavers, and smelters also. All the people, they turned into the laborers. Still we are facing the consequences in the same, because still at that time when the money was handed over into a small couple of, you can, in a small number of persons, still the gap is more between the poor and the rich in India. So this is all for the day, and next we will discuss in our next video.